Well, welcome everyone to First Freedom Live Stream, and I'm your host, Barry Bussey. And with me tonight, I have Angelina Ireland, who's the president of the Delta Hospice Society. And you're in for a treat tonight as we will hear the background story of what's been happening to the society in the province of British Columbia. Angelina, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me, Barry. Pleasure to
Well,
be here.
I tell you, can you just let our audience know a little bit about your background and how is it you got involved with this program?
I joined the Delta Hospice Society back in 2013, and I came in as a patient. I came to the society as a cancer patient, and I took advantage of some of the programming that the society offered. I was not part of the hospice that was next door. The society had a 7,500 square foot supportive care center next to the hospice, and that's where they offered programs for people on cancer journeys, counseling, and that's where I came to the society. Myself and a few of my friends, we called ourselves the Cancer Club, and we were all, going through treatment at the time. And, most of us had gotten through everything, and we've lost a couple since that time, but I never was... I was fortunate enough not to go to the hospice. I had a couple of friends who did end up in the hospice next door and did pass away. So, I came to the society really as a patient.
Right.
I came with probably a very different perspective than a lot of the people who were sitting on the board of directors at the time, even now. And I've always kept that perspective, the perspective of a patient.
Right.
What it is to go to walk that journey. And, that's what I try to bring to the table.
Okay, it looks like we are having some problems here right now. Angela, are you able to hear us? Looks like we've lost connection here right now. I just see, maybe we'll just, okay, for those of you who are just joining us now, our guest tonight is Angelina Ireland. She just got into her conversation or her story about the fact that she was indeed a patient of the Hospice Society. And she was a cancer. She was at the cancer care center that the Hospice Society ran. And so as a result of that experience, she got into the work of the Delta Hospice Society. And she's been involved ever since. So that was in 2013. Then on, I think it was in 2018, I think she became a member, but it looks like she's just about trying to come back here again. So we'll soon have her join us again as she's sharing her story with us. And again, want to welcome you back. We lost you there for a bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I think these things just follow me around. Technical difficulties, oddly. Yeah. If you were part of our, AGM this year, you'll understand that reference.
Right.
Anyway, hopefully everything will be okay.
Yeah, okay, let's see how it goes. All right, but we'll just, again, we got more people joining and want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we have Angelina Ireland. And Angelina just had to kind of reboot a little bit because of some disconnections that happened, but this is still great. Angelina comes to us from British Columbia. Angelina, you were just telling us about your experience. You were there in 2013 as a part. Now, how large, I should point out, as a cancer patient. So what kind of programs does the Delta Hospice have?
Well, it did have, before everything was taken from us, it had a number of of group programs for cancer patients. It had bereavement counseling that was one-on-one and in groups. It had groups that were specifically for people who had lost people through suicide. It had different things. It would do like yoga. It would do therapeutic touch. It would do all kinds of different things within
Mhm.
the within our building. There was specific programs for children. It was and teens. There was music therapy program. I mean, it was truly a going concern.
Right.
It reached out to the community and provided all kinds of things. So, you know,
Now, were you on one campus? Did you have a couple of campus or?
yeah, no, it was. It was situated right next to the Delta Hospital in Ladner, British Columbia.
Right.
And there was a parcel of land that we had taken on a 35-year lease, 35-year land lease.
Okay.
And we built, so we fundraised about $8 million,
Mm-hmm.
and we built two beautiful state-of-the-art facilities. One was the actual hospice, 10 beds, and the other was the 7,500 square feet supportive care center where the programming
Okay.
was run out of. And we operated both of those facilities for 10 years.
Mm.
And we had, when this whole thing started, we were honestly, the government loved us. They were so pleased to be partnering with a hospice and a palliative care organization. We brought into the public health care system about, $20 million worth of programming and health care, and about 750,000 hours of volunteer work into the public health care system. So, over that time, we had really a tremendous relationship with the Fraser Health Authority, the provincial government, and then Bill C. Carter happened, Supreme Court case, and then C-14 was passed. And quite honestly, our world changed at that point.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so just to let the audience know, the Carter case involved whether or not it was against the criminal code to be involved in physician-assisted suicide. And in 1993, the Rodriguez case, the Supreme Court had ruled that it was indeed a crime to assist in a person's death. But in 2015, the Supreme Court of Canada in the Carter case, so if you hear the reference to the Carter case, that's the case we're talking about. And the Supreme Court of Canada overturned its precedent from the 1990s and then made physician-assisted suicide available across Canada. And that has changed the work of hospices across the country. So now, can you tell us how it affected you?
Well, palliative care. Let's talk about that for a moment. Okay,
Sure.
It is a 50-year medical discipline. Canada has actually had a great deal to do with the development of this discipline with a man named Dr. Balfour Mount out of McGill University. And he studied directly with Dame Cicely Saunders in England, right, which was basically the mother of the modern hospice movement. And what both of these professionals said from day one was that, they do nothing to hasten death. So a thing like euthanasia is the antithesis to palliative care, right? Palliative care is concerned about the physical, psychological, spiritual care of a person in their final days in that journey towards a natural death.
Right.
Now you bring forward a bill like C-14, and instead of what it basically did was opened up another stream, if you will, okay, whereby this procedure was acceptable. It was non-culpable homicide, that a person could opt for that as perhaps an option. But what we've seen happen in Canada is that they've now pushed euthanasia into this medical discipline of palliative care.
Mm-hmm.
It has no place there. Any palliative care organization in the entire world will tell you, palliative care physicians will tell you that euthanasia is not part of palliative care.
Mm.
But we have basically a political movement to merge the two. It's not a medical movement, right? We're concerned about caring for people until their natural end, whereas euthanasia basically just kills a person. The end. So, this is the source of all of the issues that we have faced, is the government forcing via a basically coercive makeover of a medical discipline, right? To push this new procedure into the middle of what we have been doing for a very long time. And we got caught basically in the crosshairs of this, we ultimately refused to participate. We insisted that we will stand on the authentic medical discipline of palliative care,
Right.
and period.
So now this pressure came from the government. It didn't come from the local community or anything. It was
No, it came from the government.
Okay.
And they tied funding to, basically complying with this new procedure that they were awfully excited about, I have to say. And basically, 99% of the hospice and palliative care facilities in British Columbia accepted it. And I would say that they accepted it because if they wouldn't accept it, they would lose their funding and they would lose their facility. And we were the only ones that refused to surrender and refused to accept it. And as you will see, we lost our facility.
So okay, so now you have no facility now?
We have no facility. Our facility was taken from us a year ago.
Okay.
By the Fraser Health Authority.
Okay. And so now they're running the a hospice in the building that you folks operated.
Oh, yes. Yes. They took that from us. And the way they were able to was because we are a private organization. And we fundraised to build those facilities. And then we got into a contract with the government, with the Fraser Health Authority. And they paid us about $1.4 million a year as of late to basically provide 10 hospice palliative care beds out of our Irene Thomas Hospice. Now, when MAiD came in and they pushed it on everyone, and we refused to, provide that procedure because we had the hospital right next door, literally a minute away.
Yeah.
That provided that procedure. So that wasn't good enough. That wasn't good enough for the government. So they canceled our contract.
Yeah.
Right. So we said, that's fine. We don't need your money. We have a business. We have a thrift store. We can raise money. We'll fundraise, and we'll just continue to provide our 10 hospice palliative care beds. And then they said, well, no, you're not going to do that because you're actually sitting on our land. And they evicted us.
So now you have a thrift. So the thrift store was a different building and it was on the same campus.
Yes. No. So the thrift store that we have is in Tsawwassen, which is another part of South Delta.
Sure.
So the hospice that we built was in Ladner. We built it on a 35-year land lease. And the thrift store that we have is in Tsawwassen. And we own that property outright. A fee simple ownership. It is ours. The building on top of that property is our store. And we have a secondhand store business.
Okay.
And that's 100% belongs to us.
Right. Now, but do you have a building now for the hospice for the 10 beds? No, not yet.
Nope.
Okay. So that's what you're doing now is you're raising funds to be able to start this process all over again, to have another building.
That's right.
And this time I take it you're not going, of course, the government wouldn't even work with you now at this point anyhow.
No, we have no interest in getting into
No.
any kind of partnership with the government, any
Right.
level.
No, so do.
Once bitten, twice shy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we have no interest. We want it to be a private venture
Hmm.
where we will 100% fund and run a sanctuary for the dying that will have nothing to do with euthanasia, that will be 100% authentic palliative care in the
Hmm.
traditional sense.
Right. Okay. Now, just for those who have been watching, one of the concerns that I have had watching this story, your particular story, but also what's been happening in the province of Ontario at the Ontario Court of Appeal, the court there said that if a physician wasn't able to carry out these various procedures, not only euthanasia, but also abortion and other areas of concern that they would have as far as a moral conscience issue, the court basically said that perhaps you may want to look at some other place to use your skills. So, in other words, if you don't do what is required by government as a physician, then perhaps you should figure out something else to do, which I think is absolutely astonishing that that the court would make such a decision. Now, in the province of British Columbia, has there been pressure put on physicians to be involved in this process at all?
Um, I think that it is expected. Um, they said to us, if you refuse to participate in this euthanasia of your patients,
Right.
then you can just basically look the other way, and we'll send in a team, right? So we'll send in Dr. Death, and they'll come in, and they'll kill the person, and you really don't have to have anything to do with it. This was abhorrent to us. This is not something that we wanted to have anything to do with. We are aware of who they send in to do the killing. They send in the abortionist. When the abortionist is not working, there's one very famous one here. I don't need to mention any names where,
No.
they run a women's center during the day and carry on abortions. And at night, they have snuck into care facilities that actually had exemptions that did not provide MAiD and killed a patient. But that's
Even and that case, because I do remember something about that. That was where a physician went in uh, to a facility, as you pointed out, and that facility was not providing medical assistance in dying, and the person still carried it out in any event, right?
yes,
Right.
yes.
So,
Yes,
so
and
there's
that
a real.
person now, is like on the Hall of Fame, Wall of Fame at the Dine with Dignity Canada, right? So there's no repercussions for people who do this kind of work,
Mhm.
and we did not want to have blood on our hands, and we were not going to participate in killing our patients.
Right. Now, of course, we all recognize that any time that a person is contemplating MAiD, and that is a very trying circumstance that they are facing, and certainly, um, as an organization, I take it your view is that look, if this is your choice, the law is allowing it, but just don't expect us to take part in something that's going to violate our conscience. Is that how I understand
Yeah,
your
exactly.
position?
That's exactly right. In fact, look, we're not on a campaign to change the law,
Hmm.
right? We're not saying that we're going to do everything we can to make MAiD illegal.
Hmm.
All we're saying is that we recognize what the law is.
Right.
The law, however, does not say that MAiD must be practiced in every single bed in every facility in British Columbia or Canada. The law
Right.
says that you could have access. That's very different.
Right.
There's lots of access. In fact,
Hmm.
there's more access to euthanasia than there is to authentic palliative care.
Right.
So, we want to be left alone to do the kind of work we've always done.
Mm-hmm.
And we believe that it is a huge violation of our conscience rights to be forced to participate in something that it goes against our medical philosophy, goes against what we consider to be our conscience rights according to the Constitution
Right.
of Canada, and that's all we ask for, just to be left alone.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's not acceptable.
And I guess that is the part that I find very puzzling. And it's certainly something that is evidence of the age in which we live in, is that people are not happy enough to allow your organization to be able to continue in accordance with your conscience. It is no, because the court has made that decision, because the government now is wanting to enforce that decision, you have no choice but to follow what, i.e., we, the government, says you must do, regardless of your conscience. And that's what I find such a problem with the position of government in this whole thing.
Well, right, and you know what? They'll admit it's not the law. Like, you're not
No.
actually. It's a policy.
Right.
It's their policy. Their policy now is that everybody has to comply. Period.
Right. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, and this for those of you who are watching, this is one of the reasons why we exist as First Freedoms Foundation, because we are concerned that government and government policies are violating what we call our first freedoms: freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, and the inviolability of the person. And this absolutely strikes all three. This is something that is very much a problem. Now, as I understand it, there were also a situation where there was almost like a hostile takeover bid to take over your society. Can you explain that to our viewers?
Yeah, I mean, that's what ended us up in court. You see, we never went to court with the government. We ended up having to go to court with an activist group that had decided that MAiD was the future, that's how it was going to be, and it was everything needed to be changed. And they had gone out and actively recruited a number of people to become members of the society, to change and overwhelm the traditional membership, and just take over, assume the assets of the society, change the purposes of what we had been doing for the past 30 years, which is palliative care. Mm-hmm. And then they were just going to basically get rid of us, and that silence us. And that was going to be the end of it. And what we said was no, you can't be a member. Okay, because this is a private society. We insist that we're going to continue. We're going to fight for our identity, and we're going to continue to do the work we've done for 30 years. And you clearly are not on board with the kind of palliative care that we have always provided, and you want us to start euthanizing people. So we basically rejected their membership, and that was hundreds of people. And for that purpose, because they were very vocal, very public. So it was very easy for us to see who they were.
Yeah.
And so they ended up taking us to court. And, we tried to defend ourselves, but we lost in the British Columbia Supreme Court. And Justice Fitzpatrick, she ended up saying to us that we must admit everybody who gives us $10 as a member, regardless of what their motivation is. And that's just simply because, our bylaws and our Constitution is not strong enough. Although, we had thought that they were, certainly, and it's certainly, a 30-year history of the kind of work we have done would also show. But no, we lost. And, we weren't going to stand for that. So we appealed that. And we took it to the highest court of British Columbia, the appeals court of BC.
Right.
And we lost again. And the justices told us that it's an open society. Anybody who gives us $10, regardless, is a member.
Right.
So, among some of the things it did was it propelled us to become basically a national organization.
Right.
Because
so now you have members across the country.
Absolutely. When we started this, before this whole MAiD thing blew up, we had about 400 members of the Delta Hospice Society. And today we have in excess of 14,000 members.
Wow. Okay. So now you have a much larger group to be able to help raise money to be able to do what your society was designed for.
Well, we hope so, but there's always been this civil war inside of our society, because we have the faction that only joined to bring in euthanasia into the
Right.
society, and then we have the other members who want to protect and defend authentic palliative care, which is
Right.
becoming like almost extinct in this country, you know,
Mm.
and feel the real need to really protect what I consider to be a national treasure.
Mm.
It's the compassionate care of those people in their most vulnerable state until their natural end, providing to them care, not only physical and pain medication, but psychological care, spiritual care, whatever they need, not only them but their family.
Mm.
And right now we're seeing in Canada, which is far too easy just to kill someone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They never mind about the care. Care is expensive.
Mm.
So just get shot, get the shot and die.
Mm. This is becoming obviously a very, very painful subject for so many people, in the sense that it's not only painful for those who are going through the end of life, giving them an opportunity to be able to end life, being able to deal with one of the things that Dr. John Patrick has pointed out, I've heard over the years, is the importance of families being able to say goodbye and being able to, make amends because of things that have been said in the past or family issues that need to be resolved. And it's usually at the deathbed that those kinds of things are able to be done. And so there is that element, and then of course within the medical profession itself, which is changing, the whole idea of duty to do no harm is something that we are in the process of actually losing in many ways, and so that's becoming a real problem. So now your plans going forward, so you have I saw recently that there was something that the mayor of Delta was calling upon the government to do against your society. Now, we understand. For those of you who are just watching, we've now understand that your hospice and your events building has been taken away. You now have you do have a thrift store. But there was something that the mayor of Delta was saying just recently. Can you explain that
Right.
for us?
Well, I'll give you a little context. So if we can just back up for a moment.
Sure.
So the end of March, beginning of April, we had
Mhm.
our annual general meeting.
Okay.
And that's basically the battle royale. That's where it happened, right? Where the two slates, one was a pro-palliative care, pro-life board of directors, uh, went up against the pro-MAiD local activist group. And they each put forward their slate of electors, and the membership had to decide who they wanted to govern the society.
Right.
And so, right, so we had, 14,000 members were invited. It was a virtual event. And ultimately, what was decided over a two separate weekend meeting was that the pro-life and the pro-palliative care board of directors was elected handily by 75% of the membership approval.
Right.
And furthermore, we changed our constitution and our bylaws. We took the advice of the justices of the BC Court of Appeal, and we laid out very specifically that, we are a palliative care organization. If you want to be a member, you have to adhere to authentic palliative care definition.
Right.
It does not include euthanasia. And
Mm.
we put that in front of our membership, and it was passed with a super majority, again, of like 76%. So, overwhelmingly, our membership wanted a palliative care governance board and a very clear constitution and bylaws as
Right.
to what our purpose is, what we're going to be doing in the future, and it is not going to include euthanasia.
Mm. Mm.
So now this is the fallout from what we consider to be a democratically elected board, a democratically amended constitution.
Right.
Was the membership, that faction got really angry. I'll tell you, like, on the ground here, it's hell for me, literally. The kinds of things that have been happening, they've personally doxed me. They have sent me the most vitriolic, hate-filled messages that make your hair curl. Last weekend, my house was egged.
Really?
Yeah. I have to call the police and try to investigate like a criminal harassment file here. In the midst of this, the mayor of Delta, Mayor George Harvey, sent a letter to the Premier of British Columbia, John Horgan, asking him, I think it was, quote, do whatever you can, take any steps necessary to take from us our thrift store and our property.
And I'd be curious to know on what kind of legal basis they would have to be able to take away your thrift store. That seems expropriated for the public interest. In what basis, though? It seems very odd.
Exactly. Our thrift store always, the money that we raised there always went towards our programming.
Okay. So let me just, I just want to just, what I'm hearing from you is that you're an organization that's trying to do good to people, for people who are at the very end of life, for people who want to have this palliative care in the traditional sense. And as an organization, you have now already lost your buildings before because of the activists who were involved. And now, because you still exist, and because there is now going to be the potential of you having another hospice somewhere in Delta, that this is so offensive to, first of all, to the activists that they're going to egg your house. They are sending you threats, and you've got the mayor of Delta calling on the premier to shut you down.
Yes. To steal our private property. Yes.
That's absolutely, I mean, see, this is the part of things that we as Canadians have got to start understanding what's happening to this country, because that is the kind of thing that we simply cannot allow to continue. I mean, if you want to have a palliative care in the modern sense, and that you want to have MAiD, okay, that's one thing. But certainly we in our society, in this country called Canada, organizations like yours have an absolute right, as far as I'm concerned, to be able to continue. In fact, I would argue that the charter would say that, and then indeed are your first freedom. So I find this very, very troubling, what you're sharing with us. And I see already we've got some comments being made. And folks, I just want to let you know that if you have some questions you want to ask Angelina, just please fill out those comments there, send them in. And in a few minutes, we're going to open it up for you to ask some questions. Okay, continue on with this saga. This is absolutely incredible.
It is quite. We don't take any money from the government. We are self-sufficient with the revenue that we make from our private business, from the generosity of our members, our private members. In fact, we had a property tax like exemption that the city council of Delta gave us for many, many years on that property, and they took that away from us. Because a couple of years ago, because we refused to provide euthanasia in the hospice. So they said, you whatever, And now we have to pay the city of Delta $35,000 a year in property tax.
Mm.
So, but this isn't
See,
enough.
the whole concept here. This is fascinating because um, I have noticed over the years this increasing creep of a creep when it comes to how municipalities, not only municipalities, but what is also happening now in the federal government when it comes to charity. So charity, we've understood. We have four heads of charity. The advancement of education, relief of poverty, religion, advancement of religion, and anything else that is of benefit for the community. And so we've had in this country a very a comprehensive and understandable position when it comes to charity. And so municipalities would allow charities to have exempt status because for their properties because you're doing public good. And like even the thrift store itself is a public good, recycling, all the rest of it. But also when it's given to a good cause, i.e., palliative care, and other organizations have it. The the Mennonite groups, for example, other groups who are involved in international development and relief work and those kinds of things. So what happens now, though, is because of this, what I would say, this increasing, um, uh, for no other term that is now being used, but this concept of woke ideology. We are now seeing that if you don't agree with this ideology, that your benefits are taken away. So basically, government is saying we don't like your views, therefore, even though you may be doing practical public good, we're going to take away those tax exemptions. And we'll also see, for example, the prime minister in the last election make a statement that he's going to take away the charitable status of those pro-life groups who give what he says disinformation. And if there's ever anyone who's an authority on disinformation, it is the prime minister. But I digress. Now, the thing is here is that we have this situation. You're now being challenged. You're going to lose your or you have lost your status as a tax-free building for your work. Okay, tell us some more. This is just the plot is thickening, and I
Well,
think the entire country needs to hear this.
we are a CRA, charitable registered organization. We have charitable status.
And one wonders now how long, with the ideological positions being pushed, how long that will last. But go ahead.
Exactly. And I think they've been reporting us for 2 years trying to get that taken, but we have it so far so good.
Okay, so hold on now. So you're saying that people are now saying for CRA to investigate you?
Oh yes. 2 years ago, when we refused to kill our patients, they were already telling them to take our status away from us. Yeah.
You see, this is it, right? I mean, so now charity now becomes a political weapon. Incredible.
Yes.
Continue,
and the money that we raise at our charity shop goes to our 1-800 helpline. We have a national 1-800 palliative care helpline, 1-800-232-1589, right? And it's manned 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. With people can call.
Okay, what's that number again? Because we need to let them know.
1-800.
Right.
232.
232. Yep.
1589.
589. Okay.
And people, you're free to call us. You don't have to be a member. And we would try to, no matter where you are in the country of Canada, we try to, if you're looking for authentic palliative care services, we'll do the research for you. We'll find where your mother or your father can go, or they don't kill their patients. We will find for you an authentic palliative care residence, services, so that you can feel for example, that a little bit more at peace, that you're not putting your parents or your loved one in harm's way. Because there are many organizations right now that are killing their patients. We know that to be true. We know because we have people calling us all the time, telling us their stories of, for example, facilities who unilaterally decide that they're not going to treat you anymore. They're going to cut off your nutrition. They're going to cut off your water. They're going to cut off your air, and you're going to die. So if you don't want to have MAiD or euthanasia, they'll just decide that they're no longer going to treat you. And believe me, we have been involved in cases like this out here in Vancouver. And again, people just don't know the half of what's going on. So, we will find the places where, people can go. Potentially, we can also hook people up with counseling, bereavement counseling, with a certified counselor at our cost. We'll get people into therapy groups, like facilitated groups, where if everybody in that group is dealing with the same issues, right, we get everybody together. That's incredibly therapeutic. It's so beneficial for people to meet other people who are going through the exact same thing in this moment. It's priceless, that kind of stuff. So these are the kinds of things we do with our helpline. It's called Delta Cares. But as far as Mayor Harvey's concerned, it has absolutely no benefit. And we should be tarred and feathered, I suppose, because we're all just enemies of the state at this point. And they want to take our stuff away from us.
Now, of course, the other side would say, well, that people are having obviously this is a rough time, right? It is a rough time to be at the end of life and you're facing death. And they would say, well, why aren't you caring enough to allow them to choose to die? But as I'm hearing you, I'm hearing that, well, it's obviously their choice and we're not going to be pressuring one way or the other. Well, so certainly, and that, but when you come to our facility, when you eventually get another facility, it'll be that, okay, ahead of time, this is our position, but if you wish to go somewhere else, feel free to do so. Or if you are here and you decide to change your mind, then we will do everything we can to ensure that you are transferred to a facility that would do that.
Yes, of course.
But it's just that our moral stance is no. And, for us all, one of the things that's so important in this country is that we all have our own, we have our own understandings, and some of our positions, our moral positions, is based on a very deep religious faith, for example, and others have other perspectives. But the point is, we're on this one piece of real estate called Canada, and we need to be able to respect one another if we're going to have civil peace. But what I'm hearing tonight is that there is very little civil peace going on in your situation. So please continue.
Yeah, it is. What we offer is true choice. Like, the other side's always about, well, it's choice and it's my body, my choice. Look, we are offering choice in the, if you want to say, in the marketplace of end of life services. What we offer is not for everybody. That's fine. What we offer is unique. Those people who are looking for what we offer, we are there for them. Right. We don't presume. We don't try to be everything to everyone. But at the end of life, if you have deep religious convictions, you will be safe with us because we do not kill our patients. If you want to have an authentic palliative care experience at the end of your life, then the services that we offer are for you. If you want to have MAiD, then clearly the services that we offer are not for you. Right. And this is what freedom looks like.
Right.
is that you can go, for any particular thing you're looking for, or any, particular time in your life, you're going to be able to have a plethora of choices.
Right.
That's all we ask for.
Right. Yeah. No, fair enough. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to open it up for the discussion. We try to keep our time here to 1 hour so that we got about 15 minutes left. For those of you who are watching online, now is the time for you to put in your comments. And if you could do that over in the comment section, and then I'll ask Angelina these questions and so forth. So we're going to look at this one from Tom, who says the doctors that continue will all be morally compromised. Who wants care from them? Well, I guess I'll leave it to you, Angela. What is your respect or your comment with respect to that?
Yeah, look, clearly some people want care from them. It may not
Right.
be us,
Right.
but we need to be able to have the doctors that we want, right? The
Mm-hmm.
doctors that believe in authentic palliative care. We should be able to have access to them, and it requires very specialized training to be a palliative care physician, to be a palliative care nurse. And what's happening right now is that these very highly skilled and trained professionals are being turned into party planners. That's what's happening right now. They're having, yes, they have to help plan the MAiD party. See, these are the kinds of things that we didn't want to have anything to do with, right? If
Mm-hmm.
someone's going to have MAiD, they have a party, they have death doulas come in. It's a complete abomination of the things that we hold sacred, within our profession and
Mm-hmm.
within our discipline. But that's what's happening. And quite frankly, if that's what somebody wants, that's for them, but that is not what we want.
Right.
It
Right.
is,
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next one I have here is a comment. The government is playing God, and that's their mistake. Yeah. And the thing is, well, okay, I'll let you answer that, and then I'll answer them.
well, of course. And I think that is the main problem with what we're seeing right now in our nation, is
Mm-hmm.
that the absolute fabric of our nation is being torn apart,
Mm-hmm.
not just in medically, education, all kinds of different areas. And it is, I believe, because man has decided that they are God.
Right.
They have no time for God, right? No
Mm-hmm.
time for the morality that we as Christians or any other person of faith believes is not our place to to monkey around with. And I think that's ultimately why we're in the position that we are. Where now we're going to euthanize not only sick people. People aren't even sick anymore. They're just tired of living. They're mentally ill. They're having other kinds of issues. They're even going to start killing kids like they do in other parts of in Europe. That is the slope that we're on.
Well, and it's interesting. People say, okay, well, there's no such thing as a slippery slope, but in this particular situation, in fact, in virtually all of the situations dealing with morality issues, when people start saying, well, you're just coming up with a slippery slope argument, the reality is, yes. But slippery slope is indeed a reality. For example, the Supreme Court of Canada said that you could not, you'd have very narrow strictures on MAiD, which is medical assistance in dying. And then, lo and behold, a Quebec court recently said, "Well, no, that's even too restrictive. The Supreme Court is too restrictive." And yet, in our system of justice, the Supreme Court has always been Supreme Court. But now we've got lower courts who are telling the Supreme Court. And now the government has yet changed the law and has opened medical assistance in dying even further. So now you don't have to be like death is imminent. Now it can be much longer. So that's fascinating. And then I thank you so much, Glenn, for that comment about playing God. because it seems to me that that is, as Angelina said, the problem here. The government now is trying to take on what we have understood in religious circles as the authority, the sovereignty of God. And sovereignty, one person said, well, that's the person who gets to decide the exceptions. In other words, they are sovereign. And government right now is saying that. There's an interesting comment from Gwen. Sounds like Delta Mayor supports WEF, which is the World Economic Forum. I don't know what the World Economic Forum says on this kind of stuff, but it's the ideas of the World Economic Forum that certainly is having an influence in our society. No question. I don't know if you want to have a statement on that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we know that if we're looking at Agenda 2030, Agenda 2021, look, the biggest problem, according to these people, is humans. People are the problem. That you need to cull a pretty large part of the human population. We know that euthanasia is one of the pillars in these agendas. The useless eater. You've lived a good life. It's time for you to go. These are all wrapped into this new reset. Don't have any kids, right? Because you're hurting the environment. So those people, those very progressives who think that just euthanize people, it is part of a much bigger agenda.
That's interesting. I'm hoping, and I'll just let the audience know, I'm hoping to have someone on talking about WEF in the coming days. But I guess I haven't really studied what all they stand for at this point. But I know that these guys, they get together, they do their talking and all the rest. And it's not necessarily that any government figure is getting orders, but to me, the way I've looked at it so far is that the WEF is the same kind of idea as Marxism. In other words, the ideas basically have consequences, and so people take on these ideas and start implementing them because they think it's progressive. And that kind of thing. And so there's that kind of element that seems to me that's at play. Okay, we got another one here. The government offers support to doctors who take life. So why can they not support doctors who support life? Do they not take an oath to do no harm? That's a very good question, Sharon. And that's been my understanding, that they do take such an oath. Now, of course, the oath has changed a wee bit over time from what I understand. But Angelina, you want to comment on that?
No, I agree. Absolutely. It seems to me that it's just not fashionable anymore. A lot of this ideology that is that's very progressive. It's against tradition. The tradition of family, faith, country, and that you take care that life is one of the most sacred things that we have. One of the most important things that we should cherish. So doctors who want to it's almost they're out of fashion. That the new crop coming up, I notice a difference between the old palliative care doctors and the new ones. And the new ones not really having too much of a problem with this idea that they could just offer someone, an injection and off they go. Whereas the old ones will just leave, they'll retire, they'll get out of, they will definitely not participate. So it's the dawning of the new age of enlightenment, where, for example, you can have a no-kill animal shelter, and you're the greatest person going. But if you want to have a no-kill hospice, you're a monster.
Now, isn't this interesting? So are there, I didn't know of the idea of a no-kill animal shelter. So this is a real thing.
Oh, yes, absolutely. here in British Columbia, we have many no-kill animal shelters. I would suspect that in many parts of Canada, there's no-kill animal shelters. They go and they rescue animals from United States, California, Mexico, Thailand, you name it, Taiwan. They bring them over here and they put them into these, protective sanctuaries. So, what tells me is that, a dog, an animal, a cat, a rat has more value than a human being. It's because, it's like a war on humanity. And we want to have produce a sanctuary for the dying, and we're going to have to do that with private money, fighting activists, every level of government to try to provide that. Or if I was to open up a no-kill animal shelter, I'm sure I'd have every level of government lining up to be my friend.
I'm sure you'll get Canada Summer Job funding for that as well to hire students. Okay. Another question. Thank you for your work and perseverance through such opposition. Are there ways that people can contribute if you are fundraising for a new facility? That's always a good question, eh?
I would ask everybody that's listening to this show to become a member of the Delta Hospice Society. It's $10. You can go to deltahospicesociety.org right online, and you can become a member, and then we can keep you updated, and then we can give you information about our next steps. To be honest, all of the opposition that we have faced over the last 2 years have kept us from our ultimate vision, which is creating hospice sanctuaries. So, we just need to get past these people who won't leave us alone, so that we can, start doing some of the work that we really want to. So, we want you to become a member. We want you to stand with us. And then, we can keep you updated as to when we're going to be starting our capital campaign, where we're going to build our new facility. It doesn't have to be in Delta. It could be anywhere in this country. We're not tied to any jurisdiction at all, because we're a private organization, and we will go to put our first sanctuary where we can find land and we can find people who want to work with us.
Wow. Well, that's quite a call to action. It would seem to me. And do you think you would? I guess obviously in Delta you're getting opposition. It seems like that they're willing to just basically force you guys out of the area. But then we think of those individuals who want to have your care, who want the families who look to you as providing care for their loved ones at this crucial moment.
Well, we have members all over the country now. So of the 14,000 members, maybe 3,000 are from Delta.
Okay.
So, we have truly morphed into a national organization. It is what we've been forced to do through the courts,
Right.
to the people who want to be members. So, we don't feel tied. We are a local organization, but we're also a national organization. So,
And who knows, maybe as your story gets out and people contribute, you'll be able to have multiple sites. So the very thing that people did not want to have is in fact going to go nationwide as a result. So my dear grandmother from Newfoundland used to say, "There's ne'er a bit of bad wind that doesn't blow somebody some good." So maybe that's
that would be justice. That would be justice. Yeah.
Great. Well, Angelina, that closes out our time, and I want to thank you for coming. Is there any last words that you would like to share with the listeners?
I think that through this whole ordeal, I have been so truly blessed and grateful for the Canadian people. So many of them rose to defend us. They became members. They came to our AGM and they sat there for hours through the most horrific of circumstances sometimes, right? Some people were having trouble, some people couldn't, and they stuck it out, and 5,000 of them voted. It just, yes, we are as a nation going through some very, very tremendous difficulties right now. We're fighting for our country. But I have every hope that, with just the good people that we are in this nation, that we will get past this. And I've never been more proud to be a Canadian, in spite of, maybe some of the not so great governments that we have. I've never been so proud to be a Canadian as I am today.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I'll just leave with this comment here. Thanks for the update since 18 when you were on there. Angelina, it's been a pleasure to meet you virtually, and look forward to someday meeting you, because I do have family in the area, and hopefully someday I'll be able to come out there and visit. And folks, I just want to say that if you've appreciated this program, make sure you look at our website at firstfreedoms.ca, and please sign up for our newsletter. If this is the first time you have been watching our program, we invite you to go over there, take a look at what we're doing. Again, just as a reminder, we are interested in the first freedoms. First freedoms meaning these freedoms existed long before Canada even existed. These are inalienable rights, the rights of freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, and the inviolability of the person. And as you've heard tonight, these are the very issues that have been at the very heart of the struggle with respect to the Delta Hospice Society. And so thank you again, Angelina. We greatly appreciate you coming. And thank you for watching. And until next time, I'm Barry Bussey.